Howdy YouTube. So you got flour, pepperonis, jalapenos, and garlic. Put those things together and what do you get? Quite possibly the best loaf of homemade bread you could ever put in your mouth. So hang tight for a minute and let's see how we put this together. A jalapeno garlic cheddar twist here on Goodgame Bees and Homestead. Alright, before we get this show on the road, got that cup of joe. Alright, to start out, I use a basic white bread recipe. What you want to do is either get 1 packet of active dry yeast, or if you're going to make bread in any quantity, just get you a little jar of it. And if you look closely, it says 2 1/4 teaspoons is equal to 1 packet. So you want to get, for this recipe, 2 1/4 cups of water, and we're going to dissolve the yeast in that. So and that's 2 1/4 cups. And if you listen carefully, you just found out we have a cheese ball coming because today's Super Bowl Sunday and my mother-in-law is bringing a cheese ball. The next step is we're going to put 2 1/4 teaspoons of the yeast in there. So, Jerica. So I'm just going to kind of stir that in and dissolve the yeast. And then we're going to add the sugar to it. And we actually want 3 tablespoons of sugar. So the 3 tablespoons of sugar just goes right in. Next, we're going to put a tablespoon of salt. Here's the thing with the salt. If you're using self-rising flour, don't add the salt. If you're using all-purpose flour, go ahead and add it. So on this set, we're using all-purpose flour, so we're going to go ahead and add the salt in. So, teaspoon of salt. And stir it. And we're also going to put 2 tablespoons of canola oil, or vegetable oil. Okay, 2 tablespoons of that. And I'll post the recipe to this down in the, or actually what I'll do is I'll post a link to my webpage, goodgamebees.com, and I'll have the recipe in there. Okay, we'll get our spoon in here. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to add about 3 cups of the flour in there. Jeff, go ahead and add those 3 cups. Once again, this isn't an exact measurement kind of thing. You know, a lot of folks say, you know, make sure you sift it, make sure you do this and that and the other. I'm just going to kind of do this off of feel as we do the... And that's 3 cups. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start kneading this with the dough hook. I'm using my KitchenAid mixer with the dough hook on it. This thing is, I don't know, 15 years old, and as Jerica says, wonderful. So let me go ahead and I've got a little shield I'm going to put on here to keep flour from flying, and we'll get this going. Alright, and there I've got my little shield. This actually makes it easier to add flour in there without it going everywhere. Go ahead and lock that in place, and we're going to turn that on low. Turn it down low. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to start kind of adding flour. You see it's still pretty soupy down there. So we're going to start adding flour to it. We're just going to add it in there half a cup at a time. Don't worry about measuring it because it's going to be kind of by feel. And what you want is, I'll put one more in there. Let that go for a minute. What you want is you want this thing to kind of clean the sides of the mixer down in there. It'll start to form a ball and clean the sides off. I usually let this thing knead for about 6-7 minutes. And that's about that. We're going to go ahead and roll this out into a bowl, the sprayed bowl. We're going to spray it with, you can use butter. I'm just going to spray it with some Pam or off-brand Pam to keep it from sticking. Alright, and what I normally like to do is kind of flour a board. And Jericho, if you'll go ahead and roll that out onto the flour for me. Just take the whole thing and just dump it over on there. Okay. Hold that. I like to kind of give it a quick little knead by hand and form it into the shape I like. And what we're going to do is find the Pam. We're just going to spray Pam. I want to make sure you get the whole thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop this in and just kind of roll it around in there a little bit. The reason for that is because we're going to put a towel on top of that. And didn't quite get that top good. There you go. And we don't want it to stick to it. So we're going to let this rise in a warm place about an hour and a half or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and make the second one. What I usually do on a cool day is I preheat the oven a bit, then I shut it off and I just put a towel on top to keep it from drying out and shove it in the oven for that hour and a half until it's about double in size. So let me go ahead and throw together the second loaf or the second batch real quick, and we'll show you how we roll this up. Alright, and we just took it out and I punched it out down, and what I'm actually going to do is just kind of cut this in half, and we're going to kind of give these a second rest. This one didn't appear to rise as much, but it's also in a smaller bowl, so looks maybe deceiving there. Yeah, it rose good. And do the same thing here. I do like to kind of roll it in a little flour to keep things from sticking. And same thing, we're just going to cut it in half. And give that a second rest. So I normally just kind of put a towel on top of them. And give me a towel, Jericho. Go ahead and put a towel on top of there. And we let them rest for about 10 minutes while I get everything else ready. Alright, and then the idea is we're just going to roll this almost into a rectangle-ish kind of shape. Very mathematical of me there. I usually like to kind of flip it every now and then, keep some flour under there. Your shadow in there telling us what she thinks about it all. Yeah, preach it, girl, preach it. If we're lucky, she's eating the cat. We want this a little on the wide side. You don't want this too thick, because what we're going to end up doing is kind of almost like a cinnamon roll up on it. try to get it kind of rectangularish because we're going to have to roll that. Turn my board here. Oops, there goes that flour. Alright, and next step, Jerica is going to, get my finger out of there, go ahead and brush the butter on there. Well, actually, yeah, get these corners out a little bit if you want to. And I'm going to hold this out for you. The other end is basically it.
I was going to yell at us.
Yeah. This is not the neatest part of the process, so that should do it. Alright, then brush the butter on it. And we just melted try not to get on the board there. We just melted a stick of butter. Use margarine, whatever. Or just a little glaze on there. Alright, so just sprinkle a layer of garlic powder. Or a lot of layer of garlic powder, depending on your preference for garlic. Okay, and next comes the cheese. Spread a decent little layer. You want to pretty much completely cover it. If you're going to make any quantity, it definitely pays to buy this in the larger bags. If you have a big warehouse club, Sam's, Costco, something like that near you, you can probably save a little bit more. Now typically, if you try to make a loaf, I'll get this end down here too, with cheese and stuff like that and peppers and stuff in it, a lot of that's good. Just going to spread it out. A lot of times what ends up happening is the ingredients kind of sink to the bottom as it's baking. I actually learned this little trick from 7D Farms on how to get it so it doesn't do that anymore, and I'm fixing to show you that. So next, we like garlic. So what we did is we rehydrated. I buy the garlic when I go see my mom in New Orleans, and down there they sell dehydrated garlic, which is handy if you don't have your own fresh. It's probably good. Yeah, that's good. They sell their dehydrated stuff. Let me just make a container here of it. And this comes just like that, and you can see it's an empty container just about. I'll actually end up using this, and I'll dehydrate my own fresh garlic this year, so I'm hanging on to that. And now comes the kind of tricksy hobbit part. So let me back up. This is where Jerica excels here, so go ahead and we need the jalapenos. Alright, and almost forgot the jalapenos. We don't want to forget that. This is up to your taste. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, jalapenos have different heat levels for different batches. I bought these, and these are actually a little bit warmer than I expected them to be, which I like jalapenos, but just you might want to sample them. And yeah, Jerica just reminded me, I always go light on half of one of the loaves so that she doesn't have that many on her side. And now she's going to show you how we roll this. So
you roll it a little, then you pull it lightly towards you to get all the air out.
cover the edge.
Merry Christmas, Ella.
Just pinch that closed. Alright, and then next what we do, you want to cut it?
Straight out?
Yep. So you're just going to cut it And you just do it just by pushing it down. You cut this into 2 pieces. And this is the magic part that makes it so that your peppers and your cheese or whatever you're going to put in there is spread evenly through the whole thing. And what you do is you kind of lay it open. Oh, just kind of fell apart a little bit. What you do is you just kind of braid it. Twist it, I guess technically. I'm not really braiding it. Like so. Let me grab a pan behind you real quick. And what you do is you kind of push it together, pick it up, and drop it in there. And I always like to spread a little bit of that cheesy goodness that fell out on top. Like so. And we're going to go ahead and do the other garlic loaf, garlic jalapeno loaf, then I'll show you how we do the pepperoni loaf. Hey, Shirley's right there. Say hi, Shirley. Shirley's coming to visit. Hi, Shirley. Cheese. Alright, and this is going to be the pepperoni loaf. So we're going to put the regular cheddar and jack cheese blend, maybe not quite as much. Then we're also going to put a little Parmesan in here. Don't worry about that, that'll fold in, so don't put it there. Put it on that end. I meant here. Okay. And what we did for the the pepperonis, is we just diced up some store-bought pepperonis. So I can go ahead and spread those kind of evenly. And you can do this with pretty much anything. If you make a deer sausage, something like that, you can put it in there. I mean, you can pretty much any cured meat. You can, put whatever flavors you like. Remember, this is making 2 loaves, so that should make enough left for 2. Okay, and you'll want to make sure, like any pieces that escape in there that are too big, get some on that end over there for me. And we're just going to roll this one up. Well, first we got to get the Parmesan cheese, so hang on. Alright, so forgot to put the garlic powder on there earlier. No big deal. A little garlic powder.
A little.
Just a little. And then the Parmesan cheese. Yeah, that's the good stuff right there. And after that, we're just going to do this exactly the same way as the others. We're just going to roll and pull. And remember, you want to pull it slightly towards you each time. Takes all those air bubbles out. You can see if you end up getting cheese or something on the outside, obviously it doesn't really matter. If you're going to do seriously different flavors, like maybe rosemary bread or something with different cheeses and stuff, you want to make sure you clean your board off. But all of these are pretty much garlic cheese loaves with just the only difference being some have pepperoni, some have jalapenos. And then we're going to cut this one same way. I'm getting huffed at because Jerica normally does this part, so she'll do the next one. And just kind of wrap it together. Oops. Don't cook your wedding ring with it.
Did it?
Yeah. And just drop it in. And once again. And just look at extra little cheesy goodness. Goes right on top. Boom, there's that. You can kind of tuck some of these pieces down in there if you want them to bake in there. And that's the third one.
You have one similar to it, don't you?
It's in my pantry, but I got another one
for my children's room, because I'm always needing bags when I'm going out the children.
Let's see if I can twist it.
I got some. Jericho. He's trying to battle log.
Pick it up from both ends. Top it in.
I already been batting it
Good
everywhere.
deal. Okay, and next step is we baste the tops of these with a little bit of melted butter. Just kind of helps it brown nicely. Might as well use that last little bit of butter, so. You get right out here this side. There you go. Alright, and next we just toss them in the oven at 375. Alright, and that baked for about 40 to 43 minutes. And you can see it came out just about perfectly. These are the two jalapeno cheddar loaves. This is the jalapeno pepperoni. And this is the pepperoni cheddar. These two have the Parmesan in it. So we're going to let these cool on the rack for a little while. And we are going to slice into it because, well, that's what we get to do. So, anyway, that's it. Like I said, I'll have a link to the recipe on the website below. Any questions or anything? Just comment below. Hit like, hit subscribe. We do appreciate it. Y'all take care. Thanks for watching.